This story is not for the faint-hearted. It begins with a doll. A beautiful, innocent doll, or so they thought. If you keep reading, you may hear whispers. If you see her in your dreams, do not speak. And whatever you do, never call her name out loud. I used to be a collector of the strange. Haunted paintings, cursed music boxes, even a taxidermy fox with 2 mouths. But I never feared any of them. They were novelties, stories mostly, until I found the Okiku Doll. Or rather, she found me. I was in Sapporo, looking through an old antique shop run by a woman with no eyes, or at least none that were real. She wore thick, red-tinted glasses and spoke like she was trying not to wake something. "Do not touch the girl," she said as I reached for a glass case. Inside was a doll. Black kimono, porcelain skin, glossy black hair that fell in soft strands. Her eyes were slightly open, but no matter where you moved, she was staring right at you. "I've seen many dolls," I said. "Why is this one special?" The woman didn't smile. "She still dreams. And when she wakes, she screams. I bought her anyway." The doll sat untouched in my study for weeks. But then something strange happened. Her hair. It grew. At first, I thought I was imagining things. But I began measuring it. Day by day, inch by inch, it grew. I trimmed it once. Just once. That night, I dreamed of a little girl, soaked in seawater, her mouth filled with black strands of hair, sobbing in a voice that sounded like water draining through a clogged pipe. "Give it back," she gurgled. "It's mine." I awoke to find the doll on my chest, her tiny hand clutching a lock of my own hair. The next day, the lights in my home started to flicker. My clock stopped at exactly 3:12 a.m., the same time she appeared in my dream. The shadows on the walls began to stretch too long, curling like fingers around the corners of my vision. And the mirror in my hallway began to fog from the inside. I had to know more. I tracked the story to Hokkaido, to the Mannenji temple, where she was first enshrined. The monks were hesitant, but one, an older man with skin like paper, agreed to speak. He told me of a boy named Eikichi who bought the doll for his little sister, Okiku, in 1918. She loved the doll, slept with it, ate with it. But then Okiku died suddenly. Fever, some said. Others said she drowned chasing the doll into the sea. The family placed the doll on the altar in her memory. And then the hair began to grow. Strangers who visited the home heard sobbing. Sometimes the doll would vanish for days, then reappear in rooms no one had entered. When the family moved, they left the doll at the temple, but she follows, the monk said. Even in spirit, she finds those who speak her name. I had already said her name. Many times. He handed me a worn envelope. Inside were old photos of the doll, her hair at different lengths, her eyes sometimes closed, sometimes open. But what caught my breath was a photograph taken in 1972. It was a photo of the temple altar. There were offerings, incense, and behind the doll, in the grainy background, a girl with long, wet hair and empty sockets for eyes stared directly at the lens. That night, my home changed. Doors opened by themselves. My dog refused to enter the study. Photographs blurred where the doll appeared. I set up cameras, caught footage of her standing beside my desk at 3:12 a.m., no strings, no tricks. I tried burning her. She didn't burn. Instead, I found scorched footprints leading from the fireplace to my bed. Then came the voice. Not in dreams, in waking hours. Whispers behind bookshelves, inside mirrors, through the drain. "I'm cold, I'm hungry. Let me in." I left the house for a week. Stayed with friends. But even in their home, I found small black hairs on my pillow. One night, I saw my friend's daughter talking to someone in her room. When I asked her who, she pointed to her closet and said, "The girl with the broken mouth." The light started to flicker violently that night, and I heard 3 distinct knocks at my door. No one was there, but wet footprints led from the doorstep into my living room. My phone camera turned on by itself, and for a split second, I saw myself in the frame, with a second face, hers, growing out from the side of my head. I began waking up covered in seawater, the smell of brine clinging to my sheets. My dreams turned into full-blown hallucinations. I'd see her reflection in TV screens, in spoons, in elevator doors, always watching, always waiting. And each time, she looked more decayed. Seaweed clung to her kimono. Barnacles crusted her porcelain cheeks. Her mouth stretched wider with every appearance. One night, I returned to find every photo in my house replaced with her. Not the doll, the girl. Her expression changing in each one, curiosity, anger, grief, then hunger. The final photo was new. Me asleep, taken from inches away. Through interviews, dreams, and symbols etched into my walls, I began to understand Okiku doesn't want revenge. She doesn't want peace. She wants to be alive again. She feeds on grief, loneliness, and fear. She enters through memories, finds the weakest thread in your soul, and tugs, and if you ever forget her, she reminds you, with missing teeth on your pillow, with dolls that bleed, with family photos altered so that every face becomes hers. I found a notebook tucked behind my bookshelf, one I hadn't written in. Pages and pages of childish handwriting repeating, "My name is Okiku. My name is Okiku. My name is Okiku," and one final sentence, "If you know my name, you're mine." I began waking up in places I didn't remember falling asleep. On the floor. Outside. Once in my bathtub, fully clothed. And always at 3:12 a.m. I sought help from a Shinto priest known for exorcisms. He agreed to try. The ritual began at dawn. Salt, mirrors, sacred paper. I watched as he chanted, the doll placed in the center of a warding circle. Then the mirror cracked. The paper burned from the inside out. The priest screamed. From his mouth, her voice came. "Why do you throw me away?" His body twisted. His bones cracked backward. And when it was over, he was gone. Only his robes remained. The doll sat in the center, smiling. Afterward, I found dozens of footprints, child-sized, in the ash around the circle. They didn't lead to the doll. They led out the door. She had walked. She had wandered. I don't remember driving home. But when I arrived, my walls were covered in wet handprints. The bathtub was filled with black water, and my reflection had no mouth. She began speaking to me through static, radio, television, the buzz of power lines, always in the same tone, not angry, but desperate. "You left me. Why won't you hold me?" I remember drowning. She began mimicking the voices of people I loved. I once answered a call from my dead grandmother, only to hear Okiku's laughter echo down the line. I left her in a shrine far from here, buried her beneath salt and ash and prayers. But some nights I hear knocking. 3 knocks. Always at 3:12 a.m. I moved homes, cities, countries. She always finds me. And now I've told you her story. Her name has entered your thoughts. If you dream of waves, of hair in your throat, of little feet shuffling outside your bedroom, do not open your eyes. Because Okiku is still looking for a home. And now she knows yours. Thank you for tuning in. Please leave a like and subscribe. I will see you again next week.